Hello and welcome to Crop Roadshow. In this series, you'll discuss the history of 3 or more crop cultivars, starting with the history of the crop itself. Then I'll rank them for agronomic traits, which will be out of 3, disease resistance traits, which will be ranked out of 2, 1 for each major disease, and 2 points for historical breeding use and future breeding use. Let's begin. You'll start with Golden Pippin. This apple cultivar is very ancient. It likely originated during the 15th century in the Sussex region of the United Kingdom. It was used historically for both cider, fresh eating, and cooking, and was for quite some time one of the most popular apples within England. Apple growers attempted to grow this crop in the United States, where it wound up failing. It was still being grown into the 1800s in England, however, both commercially and in gardens. Thomas Andrew Knight, alongside several other breeders, have historically used this cultivar to breed many different types of apple, including Court of Wick, Yellow Industry, Downton Pippin, and Pidmessin Pineapple. Yellow Industry being derived from a crossbreeding project using Hawk's Orange Pippin and Golden Pippin, which led to the creation of Yellow Industry and Red Industry. Pidmessin Pineapple was an open-pollinated seedling of Golden Pippin. Given that there is very little in the way of pineapple-flavored apples, it's very possibly Ananas Renette, which will be covered in another episode. Another open-pollinated seedling of Golden Pippin was Court of Wick, with a similar flavor to Golden Pippin. It remained a highly regarded apple and is still used to make cider. Another crossbreed made by Mr. Knight was a cross between Olive White Pippin and Golden Pippin. It was used historically as a dessert apple and a cooking apple. It had a very cider-like flavor to it. It was only used for a short period of time, but remains a pretty decent heirloom. So as a breeding parent, it was very popular in the past and could be popular again in the future. As such, I would give this cultivar a 2 out of 2 for historical breeding purposes. Now on to disease resistance. The 2 diseases I'll be discussing will be fire blight and scab, since these are the biggest diseases that affect apples, at least in my region. It was already found to be resistant to scab, and fire blight resistance remains unknown, although it is possible it is resistant to fire blight, due to Pidmessin Pineapple being somewhat resistant to fire blight, which will be discussed in further detail in another episode. Since I can only go on what is known, not what is unknown, I give disease resistance 1 out of 2. Now I'll cover agronomic traits, which include flavor, ornamental appeal, and ease of brewing. On the flavor end, it seems to be top notch, although I've never tried it myself, due to the fact that it's mostly found in the UK. As such, I would give this 1 point for flavor. It also seems to store very well, up to 3 months, so 1 point for storage. And due to its historical frequent use, it must have been easy to grow, so as such I'll give it 1 point for growability, at least in the UK. So that comes up to 3 out of 3 for agronomic traits, for a total of 6 out of 7 points. Now on to the Nonpareil. The Nonpareil is a very old apple. How old it was remains unknown, but it made its way into the UK in the 1500s. How long did it take for it to get there? How many years, decades, or centuries? It remains unknown. I've seen varying degrees of different communications on what apple shares lineage, but it's been suggested that all pear drop flavored apples share the same lineage, specifically the old Nonpareil lineage, and they're all direct lineal descendants of the Nonpareil. It is known for its pear drop flavor profile, which is known to be a high sugar, high acid flavor, a trait passed on to its theoretical descendants. In terms of breeding history, if it is true that all pear drop flavored apples are derived from the Nonpareil, then that's an easy 2 out of 2. From a disease perspective, There's not much I could find on it. The closest explanation is there are no diseases that are known to affect Nonpareil. So I'll give it a 1.5 out of 2. This apple tree produces apples that store well, and the apples look pretty cool. And the tree's architecture also has some ornamental appeal to it as well. As such, I give this a 3 out of 3 for agronomic factors. Now on to the next plant. Now on to Court Pandu Plat. This is a very old apple. It's thought to have existed within the Roman Empire, and was first documented in France in the early 1400s. It continued to be grown up until the 1600s, partially because it is a quite nicely flavored apple with a licorice aftertaste, partially due to the medical properties that it was thought to have. But the main thing that kept this apple having a resurgence is its property as a wise apple. It was given this nickname due to the fact that it blooms a lot later than most other apples, and as such, avoiding the spring-killing frosts that destroy blooms. The term Court Pandu Plat directly translated means short, suspended, and flat, which makes sense considering that the apple is almost donut-shaped, has a very short stem that touches itself to the branch itself, and it looks like it's suspended in midair. Court Pandu Plat is suspected to be the oldest known ancestor to Cox's orange Pippin, due to the similar flavor profiles. Otherwise, other cultivars bred from Court Pandu Plat include the cultivar Suntan, which was a cross between Cox Orange Pippin and Court Pandu Plat. It has a nice flavor to it, similar to Court Pandu Plat and Cox Orange Pippin. One of the other progeny of Court Pandu Plat is Renette de France. So as a breeding parent, I give it a 2 out of 2 for agronomic purposes due to its long storage capabilities and ease of growth, and its ability to miss the killing frosts. I give it a 2 out of 3. For disease resistance, due to its susceptibility to fire blight, I give it a 1 out of 2, since it can still resist scab. And for historical breeding purposes, I would give this a 2 out of 2, for a total score of 3 out of 7. That covers everything. Thank you for watching.